with both of us meditating, it's been really great because when times get difficult or stressful, instead of like really blaming each other, the meditation gives us both the opportunity to see what's going on individually for ourselves. And that has been able to bring us together and to support each other better now as both being parents. We're just always on the same page, which is really nice.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Great to have you. We brought Monica in today because we wanted to talk about motherhood and meditation through that experience. But first, we were just wondering, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you started meditating, or just a little bit about you?
Sure. So I've been meditating for almost 10 years now. I think October is going to be 10 years, which I can't even believe myself because it doesn't feel like it's been that long. I have a little one now. Her name is Belle, and she's 2.5. So myself and my husband have both been meditating together. He's been meditating for, I think, like 4 or 5 years now. 4 years. We've been together for 4. So yeah, I stay home with my little girl, and it's been a huge change over the past couple years. A very different journey than before, but I always come back to the meditation, and that's probably been my only staple I've had for the entire whole past 10 years.
Hmm.
So yeah, it has come along for the journey of everything.
How did you stumble upon this? Yeah.
So actually, I was a nanny at the time, and the place that I was working, I didn't know was close to the meditation center. But when I was working there, they used to hand out, like when they did different like promotion, they would hand out like booklets and pamphlets. And it just so happened to end up on the doorstep of where I worked. And I was like, yeah, they're not going to look at this. And I was interested in meditation. So I had been looking for something for quite some time. So my mom had passed away in 2012. And when I became a nanny and then found the pamphlet for the meditation, it had been about like 2 years later. So I was already like seeking out, like, I guess you would call it like coping for just grief in general. But I mean, for me, those whole 2 years, like after my mom passed, I think that I just felt lost in general from a lot of different things and confused, like why, what's next, or just unknown. And that, along with the grieving process, I was searching a lot for something to help me. And I did try a lot of other different meditation practices, or just like was more interested in spirituality, I guess you could say, in general. Um, Reading a lot of self-help books. And I don't think I really even knew what I was looking for. But when I got that pamphlet when I was a nanny, I started reading through and I was like, oh my God. I just remember thinking like, wow, like this is exactly what I was looking for. And it was either that day or the next day, I actually took the little boy I was nannying at the time. I took him in with me to go to the center because I was like, I gotta go. So that's how I found it, and I pretty much just signed up on the spot because this is exactly what I was looking for. Like, so I stopped everything else and just started doing the meditation practice. Yeah.
It's great. I feel like we all have that same, somehow we have that same story of like, it's just exactly what we're looking for in the moment.
Yeah, like falls into your lap.
Yeah, and it was something that I didn't know was possible. It was something I always hoped for, or I guess like what I was searching for, but didn't, like you said, like didn't realize that's what I was looking for. But
Yeah,
yeah, the part where it was just like, here's the way out, and like in a very kind
yeah,
of clear and like logical way. Whereas like before, it was just this like I was like wandering aimlessly and just like hoping I'd
yeah.
magically pop out of that like world that I was struggling in, you know?
I hopped around for a while and I was just trying everything, even therapy, just like everything. And every time I did something and I was like, this just isn't it, or like, this is dumb. Like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
And it was just, everything was along the same lines. But when I was reading through the pamphlet, I was like, it had, like layers of like our mind, and you can work through each layer, you can start releasing all this. And I was like, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I'm on board.
Yeah.
So
It's a miracle.
it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So how old is your daughter, did you say?
She's 2.5 now.
2.5. Okay. So you're
Yeah.
meditating for like 8 years, right? 7.5 years.
When I
Like prior to
you mean
having her.
up into prior to having her? Yeah. So yeah, like 7, 8 years. Yep. Yeah.
That's a long time, man. I've only been meditating for I know it's
Don't
like, no,
remind me.
no, I'm jealous. I'm not jealous, but I'm just like, that's so cool. I can't wait till I'm like at a point where I can say that I've been doing this for 10 years now.
I scold myself when I'm like, man, I was such a bad meditator. It took me so long in the beginning. I was like, what am I doing? I really was like very diligent. I was in there every day. I was doing like 1 or 2 hours, but like I was like an angry meditator. I was like, there was like times I remember one time I was in there for like 30 minutes and I was like I just couldn't. I had so much anger built up. I think that was probably like my primary thing was just like so much anger, like anger from like my mom passing and just I think that's part of the grief. It was just like so much built and like angry at the world, like why did this happen to me? And like I don't know, just all sorts of things. Like, so when I was in there for like 30 minutes and I had been going regularly for a while. And all of a sudden, I was just like in a rage and I was like, ah! Like I couldn't sit still. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I just like got up and I like yelled at my guide at the time, like my helper. And I was like, ah, and I like, I just left. And I came back the next day and they're like, oh my gosh, like you're here? Like you came back? And I was like, yeah, it's like, that's just how I am. Like I'm back to start again. Let's keep going.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, okay. Like it's fine. I'm just crazy. Don't worry about me.
Well, that's how you know it
Yeah,
works, right? Kept coming back.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. But I had been, yes, in it for quite some time before I got pregnant.
What kind of changes did you notice like during that period?
Um, when I first became pregnant, I'd say honestly, I felt like a lunatic. I'm not gonna lie. I think just like between the hormones, like there's so many things in your body that's changing. And it really, I would say it really messes with you in general mentally.
Mhm.
So whenever I got pregnant, I was like, I just felt like it was a different journey. I could tell it was a different journey starting out for me in meditation, you know? So all of a sudden I had like all these new fears and these new worries and a lot of anxiety about what the baby wasn't even there, but I was just, you have all these things that are popping into your mind about being prepared. Do I have all the things? And I'd say majority of pregnancy, especially in the beginning, it was a lot of that. Like, do I have all the things that everybody that I'm gonna need. Like I wasn't gonna be able to run out to the store or something, you know. Like
Mhm.
the baby can't move, you know, the baby's not gonna be able to do anything. But it's like you have a lot of stuff built up in your mind, making sure that you're like building your nest, kind of. And that alongside of probably my eating, I guess. Like I had a lot of in the first couple months, like my food aversions and nausea like was like really difficult. So
Mm.
like along like mentally and physically, it was like both combined, I guess. So what I couldn't eat like any meat at all. I couldn't. I in the first like couple months, I like didn't really want anything at all. So it was a lot of I think mental preparation and then also trying to deal with different things being thrown at me as far as not being able to eat certain things or and I always um had a lot of mind about I guess like accomplishments like I with like eating healthy with
Mm.
working out regularly. My past I guess is mostly primarily like strung around eating very well and like trying to keep my body healthy. And I think part of that stemmed from like my mom passed. I really tried to take control of like a lot of those things. So like I was very dedicated to like I'm doing the meditation, I'm trying to keep my body healthy, I'm trying to eat right and do all these things. And then when you get pregnant and that was like all taken away, it
Mm.
was like stripped me down to the core. And it's like I couldn't eat anything at all probably for like a month. I was like losing weight while being pregnant. So it was like a lot of fears with that.
Oh.
And yeah, it was really, really tough. And like nobody there is like not any type of conversation, I guess, about that beforehand. So I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Um, you know, and then I was nauseous all like just it wasn't like morning sickness, it was like 24/7 sickness. So through that, with the meditation, I realized, I mean, quite some time after, as things like gradually went back to normal and, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't stick forever. But, anyways, through the meditation with that, as difficult as it was in the moment of like trying to work through that, after the fact, I realized like how much attachment I had, I guess, to health
Mm.
and like trying to control all those things. Like it was I don't know if you call it like a not like a punishment to myself, but like I was so like I couldn't control, I guess, what had happened, you know, prior with my mom. So like I controlled other things, things I
Sure.
could control. And that kind of stuff started to come out with pregnancy, I guess. So the meditation really showed me a lot about not only health, but like attachment to like my appearance I had too. So like you know, oh, I can't, you know, if I start eating all this junk, you know, or whatever, like it's going to be that much more difficult for me after pregnancy to get back to where I was. You know, I worked so hard for this kind of thing. So, um, yeah, I had a lot of, I guess, pride stripped down, I think, through
Mhm.
pregnancy. But the meditation, like afterwards, when I was working through that, I was really able to come out on the other side and be like, wow, I can't believe I had that much. It was kind of mind blowing for me because I couldn't believe I had that much attachment to health because you think that eating healthy and like taking care of your body as best as you can is great, which it is, but it's not when it becomes, I guess, stress or whenever you can't do that necessarily. And it was very interesting to me to go back and see that and probably a couple months in, I was like, oh my God, you know, this is like a big thing for me. So I was really able to start working through that. And I kind of had to school myself a little bit on like the fact that I really couldn't enjoy the journey of pregnancy
Mm.
because I couldn't allow myself to have like gratitude for the changes that our women's bodies are able to go through, like, you know, in the process of carrying a baby and things, because I was so attached to, you know, oh my goodness, I'm sick and I can't eat that. And, or, you know, or I would like have pockets full of candy. That's what I craved. Like through pregnancy. I'm serious. Like it was like the Sour Patch like,
Sour
Kid
Patch Kids.
things. Oh yeah, it was like all the like real sugary stuff, or like here and there I'd want like a random potato or like a strawberry, but it was like just weird stuff. But instead of being able to like laugh about it at the time, it was like so frustrating to me. So I'm really happy through those tough times that I was able to go through that experience. I mean, of course, in the moment, like it's not, it's really hard and it's not something that's, you know, easy. So, yeah, that. And then I'd say with the fears and the worries, there's a lot of things, I guess, that you build up in your mind, around having the child that afterwards, you realize that it's going to be what I guess it's going to be. And like, if there's always people around to help you, or like you can go out and get the things that you need. And we make a lot of things up in our mind and they become bigger than what they actually are.
Always.
Always. Yeah. They seem so much bigger and it's not.
It's interesting, like when you're talking about like in the moment, of course, like it doesn't feel that way, like so it's looking back that you can like see, oh wow. First I was able to like see these minds that came up. So it was actually like the perfect conditions for you to see like what you had in you.
Yeah.
Because I think, some people maybe think like, oh, you meditate, so you're never gonna like be frustrated or go through any hardships or something like that. But like, of course you're
Yeah.
gonna go, of course you go through things, but you also have like a way to come out of it. But one thing that I noticed, at least for me, is like the major difference is that I never ever feel hopeless anymore, that I won't be
Yeah.
able to come out of this, or like that I won't eventually be able to look back. Like in the moment, of course, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be whatever. But I'm never like, oh, this is it for life. Like I still know that I'm going to get past it and it's going to be
Yeah.
fine. And I'm going to grow from it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that before, but before it's like you just stay stuck. I remember thinking that before too, before I started meditation. I was like, well, this is just life. That's
Yeah.
so sad. I'm like, whatever, this is what people do. Like,
Hmm.
but it's not. Now I'm like, okay, I know that this too shall pass. And so I was like, okay, I don't know. Yeah. Always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. It's also, I was fascinated to hear that you had mind about being healthy. I had never thought about that. I just
Oh
always
yeah.
that I always assumed that like someone who's healthy is like in a pretty good state of mind or something like that because they're
Mm.
taking care of their bodies, right? But I didn't think about the extreme side of that either, where like
Yeah.
I guess if it's like too much, like you're too stressed about it, then it's still not really that healthy because you're putting stress on your body before even doing the eating healthy
Well,
part.
that's the interesting part about it is because I didn't know that. And that's
Mm.
why I said, like, after the entire experience of pregnancy, that's why I was like, oh my gosh, like, without these conditions, I actually wouldn't have known. Because then, yeah, like, oh, I'm eating healthy. I don't know. You don't, I guess you don't know how deep you're in it until you can't be in it.
Right.
Like, because I had to have something actually take that from me because I wouldn't have ever let myself get to that point. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the universe actually it has always done that to me. It puts me exactly like, hey, guess what? You're not going to do it. So, you know, let's just rip the band-aid and see what happens,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, it's funny. It can be, I think that there's I've thought about this a lot of times is that I definitely look at people that have really, if I see somebody with like a really great skill or like, oh, I wish I was like that, but I don't think about the opposite way of it. I wonder how it is actually for them.
Mm.
Is it actually stressful to be that way?
Yeah, that's so
So,
true.
Mhm.
yeah, just for them, it might be different. Mm,
Yeah, I think that mental side of like health or anything, even can't really say, oh, they're great because you don't really know what's going on inside. And yeah, even through
yeah,
like my own sort of just health or fitness journey, it's like the sort of the mental side of like developing a healthy relationship with food and exercise. Like that's it's like a whole other thing that maybe doesn't get talked about as much. But
yeah,
yeah, that mental aspect, like just because somebody is like fit, sometimes the people who are most fit have like the worst relationship with food, you know?
Mm.
So yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely an aspect of pretty much anything we do. You have to address the mind and the mental side.
Yeah.
yeah. Agreed.
So, how were you able to adapt to the changes like after having your daughter? Or
Yeah. So I was working full time up until I had Belle, and that was something that I guess I didn't think that it's not necessarily that I missed per se, the life before. Um, I actually am very shocked that because I went through a period where I did not want children at all until I met my husband, actually. So, like,
Mm.
for me to sit here and be like, oh, like, I was like, oh, I'm not having kids and I'm working. And then I met my husband and I'm like, yeah, I would love to, let's have kids. And yeah, like, I'd love to stay home, sure. Like, who is this person? But, being home, I love being here with her, but there's also a very different scene. You're not out all the time. And I think through the first year, I mean, between like my hormones were like all over the place, and there's so much exhaustion from just lack of sleep, going through having a newborn, that I don't think I really gave it much thought. I was just any extra time I had was literally sleeping or like trying to eat, trying to eat a meal. Like there was no like bread, just dead brain cells probably. So after that period, I'd say after the first year, then my hormones started to regulate, and we decided that we were moving. So we moved, um, I guess, further north, you would say. So we moved from outside the Philadelphia area to like Bethlehem. And through that move, still being home, I found myself feeling like lost again and lonely and sad. It's a new environment. I've never been a not a like a. I've always been pretty much a social butterfly. Um, it's never been difficult for me to talk to people, but when you're primarily at home and I'm taking care of Belle, like I'm pretty much in the house. Everyone's at work. Everyone around, outside is at going into work.
Mhm.
So there's no one really out. Even if you're outside, there's no one out, So I'm just like here with my daughter. And I started to realize like, wow, like I really feel lonely. And then it started like the loneliness grew, and I was starting to feel like years ago I had gone through like really bad episodes of depression, and I never really realized that. But I guess after it started happening, I started, I guess, feeling those feelings again. I was like, I feel really down. I feel just like not myself. I'm just like crying all the time. I was like, man, what is going on? And just everything was sad. And like, especially if my husband had to travel for work, or he's in the army too. So like he has to travel for that sometimes too. So between like not really being in that social work environment, and then if he was gone too, I just found myself like feeling like that. And it's easy to blame your environment. It's really easy to be like, well, I'm in a new place. I don't know anybody here. I don't
Mhm.
have any friends in this area, and my husband's away, or, I'm literally am home alone. No one's around. Like it's really easy to just do that.
Mm.
But something I've learned, it's not. it's not ever actually that, is what I've learned from the meditation time and time again. And I'm like, you know, I realized that the loneliness that I felt was actually just in, like, it's really just in my mind. Like I was creating this lonely feeling, but I wasn't actually lonely. Like I had so much support from like friends and family, and of course like the meditation community in itself. I've like known everyone for how many years, you know, and we see everyone online now. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
talk, you know, you talk and share stuff. So it was just very interesting to me because I'm like, I'm not, you know, I get out of the house, I see people, and I have all this support, but I feel so lonely and I feel so sad. And I couldn't figure out why. And it was actually through a certain somebody that I had a conversation with. That was it was actually Matt. I reached out to him, but I was like, you know, like I can't. At one point, when I was in that low again, and I was like, you know, I don't know why. And I realized that the loneliness wasn't new. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it wasn't something that was all of a sudden, you know, it wasn't the environment. It wasn't the new place and not having friends in the area. It was just being triggered. Like the new situation was a trigger for me, the new area, not having friends. And I realized that that loneliness and feeling depressed was like I had that all along. Like I already had that inside of me. It was just being poked basically by the new situation to be like, hey, I'm still here. So that was probably like the biggest thing from becoming a mom, because of deciding as a family that I was going to stay home to raise her. And as much as I love it, as much as I love being here, and we do so much fun stuff together, and I love watching her grow and being around for all the little moments, it is very different from my life before. But without this experience, like I don't, maybe it would have just, I guess, taken me longer to see. But yeah, I was able to, I guess, work through all the levels of loneliness. I think still like some of it coming out from feeling like a lot of the stuff from motherhood is actually very interesting, because I think that because of now being a mom, like if there's anything that was like remaining from like dealing with my mom's passing, it's like now it's like I'm a mom. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's all, like I feel like that's like kind of like all unraveling for me, you know. So
Yeah, I remember getting that text. It's all I said. It was like, "Do you still get depressed?" I'm like, "Are you okay?"
cutting straight to the point here.
Yeah. Uh, that's some of the great thing about like
No.
talking to people through this meditation in this community. It's like you kind of just skip the small talk and just get straight to what what you want to say and
Yeah.
get into it. And I don't even remember what I said to you, but yeah, like um, yeah, just whatever we're going through a situation is just kind of showing us what's inside. And oftentimes, if if we have the tool like the meditation to handle it, we usually come out better on the other side of it.
Yeah, and for me, as I mean, I think when I'm really stuck, it's always like when I reach out to you, it's always great when I reach out to somebody in the meditation community, because I think that, I don't know, there's always something that makes me realize, oh yeah, like go back to the meditation, because that's like always what it is. You're like, oh, would you ever think, I think where you said something about, you know, did you ever think about what might be triggering it? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean triggering it? I'm like, I feel lonely. Like there's no triggers here. Like like you're speaking gibberish, but I'm like, oh, never thought about it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, just takes that outside perspective to, yeah, to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really funny. Like you listed so many quote unquote valid reasons for why you should feel that way too. Where
Mm-hmm.
it's like very easily justifiable, like you said. So if you like wanted to stay stuck in that like kind of victim mentality, like you
Mm-hmm.
could have easily justified that. But yeah, it's cool that you were able to see the other side of that too. Where like you actually really did have a big support system. But yeah, it's all in the mind. So
Yes. We can torture ourselves, I guess, if we want.
Yeah. And we all need the Matthew to be there and remind you sometimes.
Yeah. So it's a
Man
funny
of
part.
wisdom.
Apparently, it's always a funny part of somebody's like, "Oh yeah, you helped me. You did this or that." I'm like, I don't really remember what I said, but I'm glad it was helpful.
Mm. Not to put you on the spot, but how do you feel now with that, with the loneliness and stuff?
I mean, I still have here and there like small episodes, but it's very far and few between. Is that what they say? But is that
You
what
and
they
far
say? Far and
between, I
few in
Yeah,
think.
between.
yeah, then yeah, few and far between.
Yeah. And it's very shorter periods. So
Mm.
I I don't know, it like creeps up on me. Because like I said, until I start feeling like that, I'm like, what's going on? Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I remember this feeling. But it's like becomes like over the years that my depression or like the loneliness and the sad or just like that it always makes me think of Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. I don't know, where he like
Yeah.
mopes around with a cloud over his head. Oh, that's what it makes me think of. That's how I feel. I'm like this like sad, like lost donkey. But even my husband said he can like see it on my face, even if I'm trying to like fake it, or act
Mhm.
like everything's fine. He can see it. He said I carry myself differently, but it's just much less now. Or like I'm able to catch it quicker, maybe, so that I can be like, like what is really, I guess, checking myself, like what
Mhm.
is triggering, or what is going on. Is there something stressing me, something related to like typically family, or like going back to maybe there was a situation that brought up my mom again or something like that. And I
Mhm.
guess I'm able to kind of, I guess, like wipe through and be like, hey, what's really going on, because I
Yeah.
tend to just stay in, I have an agenda for the day, so it's like you just don't pay much mind to it. But whenever I start feeling that way now, it's much smaller, and
Mhm.
I don't feel like it's so catastrophic, I
Yeah.
guess.
Like you don't get
Yeah.
sucked into it as much, or
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, and it depends on what it is too, but over the years, I mean, yeah, it's been, I mean, yeah, my mom passed in 2012, and that's the only thing. Like I know that deep, lingering sadness and like that depressed feeling, like when it does come up, I'm like, man, I remember this feeling. It's like it was like the day I found out that she passed. Like I can feel it in my
Mhm.
bones, but it's
Yeah.
like so tiny now. But like different stuff, like there's different like layers of it and levels of it, if that even makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. When I got married, it's like, even though I had worked throughout her actually being gone, but like she's not there to see my wedding kind of thing. So there's always like different
Mhm.
different things like that are
Right.
related, but it's different for me now. And also because I have a tool in the meditation to be able to actually work through it. Whereas before I was just lost,
Yeah.
and you stay in there.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Like, because sometimes like you think you already moved past something because it's like, oh, I already like, worked on that in meditation, but there's so many different angles of it and different types of feelings or things that, I don't know, just different angles where it's going to come in that you didn't exactly work on that particular thing before. So, yeah,
It's like a spider web.
right. Yeah.
It's like,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's normal too to like, feel that in like situations like that where normally, your mom's an important person in your life. So when they're not there for
mm,
like a big event, like I think of course it's normal to feel those feelings.
mm,
But, it's often is when we get stuck and never come out of it is usually when I guess the issues arise.
Hmm.
But when you're able to just kind of feel it and just sort of kind of see it for what it is, I feel like I don't know, it almost becomes I don't want to say it's like a bittersweet thing. I don't know if that makes sense or if that's appropriate, but like you have like a different appreciation for the feelings, I guess, where it's like you're
Yeah.
kind of allow yourself to feel it, but then, you know, kind of move on from it too as well.
Yeah. And I think also, I don't know if you guys noticed as well with that, just in general, but the longer you maybe prolong, like facing or dealing it, it's like there's always other opportunities that arise until, you get there. But I have noticed that too. So
I think the universe keeps keeps giving us a lesson until we learn it.
knock,
Yeah.
knock, still here.
So you mentioned that your husband also meditates, right? You said for a couple years now.
Hmm.
How has that affected or impacted your relationship and like maybe also like raising a child together?
I mean, we've always been very in tune with each other and always, I feel like, had good communication. But since having Belle, whenever I found that, like, especially in the beginning, like you're not in your best conditions, you're not getting sleep, you're like worn down. It's like, it's really easy to take it out on each other or, um, put more stress on one another, I guess. So even now, as she's gotten older, we each have our own personal things that we want to accomplish. We want to spend time with each other. We want to spend time with friends, So with both of us meditating, it's been really great because I think it keeps bringing us back to each other. So as much as, when times get difficult or stressful, instead of us drifting apart or pushing each other's buttons, I mean, we still do those things, but um, for the most part, instead of like really blaming each other, the meditation gives us both the opportunity to see, I guess, what's going on individually for ourselves, and that has been able to bring us together and to support each other better now as both being parents. And I thought our communication was actually really good in the beginning until having Belle. Then I realized that I mean, I won't speak for him, like what he went through in his personal like meditation journey, but for me, from my side of it, I think that my communication has grown a ton, um, now, like with both of us together, and especially now with having Belle, like I would keep a lot of things to myself if I was feel like it was like too much. I've never really been really great at expressing what I need, and or asking for help, honestly. But with Devin doing the meditation, and then with myself, as I'm working through those things, he's able to support me on the other end of it and realize that I maybe need a little bit extra, love, or, when to back off kind of thing. I don't know. With staying in tune to help each other, it also has kept us being able to know when to, I guess, give each other space. Or, like she's working through something, he's working through something. We're we're just always on the same page, which is really nice. And I think that it's also good, like if I'm having a hard time and I feel like I can't get out of it, he's able to see that in me too. And it's like, hey, have you been able to, have you been able to work on that in your meditation? I don't know. You can like check on each other in that, and that's a really great thing to have as a parents, as a team in general, and also I think like with having Belle now, she sees that. You don't think that they're listening to things, but their little ears are listening to all the things.
Yeah.
They're listening to everything. I'm like, she's not paying attention, she's paying attention. So I think like for both of us, like it just only continues to like make us stronger, not only as a couple, but then as parents. And then she's able to see all that. She's able to see like I know we each know like what our strengths and our weaknesses are. we see that in each other, we know it about ourselves, but the meditation also helps you to improve on those things. Like I know that I'm not good at expressing my needs. But I hope that Belle is better than I am. So like through the meditation, as I improve myself and as Devin works on improving himself and like us together, she's learning that differently, you know? So like I feel like that is probably the most important thing for both of us is that even though the meditation is for us individually and like together, but also it's for her because she's given the opportunity to view, things better than maybe we weren't able to, as, things that we don't do that great, we would like to improve on, I don't know, in hopes that she can grow up to be a little bit better at expressing and communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think also I learned that those habits, I think, were something that I had through the meditation, I was able to see like those things were all formed like from my childhood. So I was able to like work through that too, like knowing where it came from, like why I wasn't really able to, why I'm not good at expressing myself and work on it.
Yeah, it's I think a very lucky kid to have two parents who are meditating and sort of working on themselves, and to sort of kind of be an example of a healthy relationship. It kind of reminded me of seeing like that. I don't know if it's a quote or something, but it says like probably something I saw on social media at some point that said like the best gift you kind of give to somebody is like your own like personal growth and development. And I think that even applies to with like a child, is like just being able to kind of improve yourself and keep trying to show up as your best self. Like I think that really sets sets a good example, for them to witness and take in. Because like you said, they probably listen more to see more as like what you do rather than what you say. They're probably going to absorb more of that.
Yeah. And even in subtle ways, like even just like picking up feeling and stuff too, if you're not like carrying this negative energy that could be like subconsciously affecting her. So that's good. So how do you work out like coordinating between, because you guys must be super busy too, like with your separate, work lives and whatever, and then also raising a child. So how do you actually work out like both of you being able to meditate and do what you have to do?
Magic. It's all magic. No, it's hard. It's hard, and it has taken, we're still working on it,
Mm.
we've gotten way better with it. Over the first year it was very difficult, but each month and, as time passes, we have always tried to, like I said, improve the communication and try to really work through that. But now our science is a shared calendar, honestly. It's really hard. It's hard because not only do we want to spend time with each other, like I said, but do our own personal things. Planning has been a huge help. I'm all about structure, and I'd say that primarily I'm the one who takes on doing like mapping all that kind of stuff out, like our meditation, exercise, our personal goals as couples, all that kind of stuff. Like I'm the one who kind of like takes the lead on that. But we go in it together, and I think that's where the communication has helped both of us. So we actually do like monthly goals that we have been doing for quite some time now. Probably, I mean, I'd say maybe at least 6 months we started doing monthly goals. And it's not anything that takes a ton of time, but we just sit down usually for like 20 minutes or something at the end of the month. And we just talk about, how many days a week, are you trying to meditate? How many days a week are you trying to exercise? Do we have any like finance goals or like just anything at all? It's really just all about goals, and like write them down, and we just try to stick to that. So then every week usually on Sundays is whenever I plan that out. So I'm like, if I know Devin's like trying to get to the gym 3 days a week, I usually go off him and I'm like, hey, what days are you trying to get there? And everything is scheduled as an appointment. That's been the only thing I've ever been able to figure out. It's like so sad, but it's like in there. I'm not even kidding. If I shared the screen right now, you guys would be like, you're crazy. But that's how it works. That's how it's accountability, and also like it's not a surprise. Like it's not a surprise to each other. Like if he's getting home from work and he wants to go to the gym, I'm continuing to be with Belle. There's like not a swap off, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
not a surprise to me because it's everything shared in the calendar.
Right.
And, vice versa. He knows he's coming home from work and he's tapping me out. So he's going in with Belle and doing all the bedtime stuff and dinner and everything. And then I'm going to the gym kind of thing, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of just communication, and it has been a huge work in progress, and we just keep trying to improve it. But also, one thing that we realized is, I don't know if he did. I think Devin realized too, but I think it was just much later. But for me, I don't know if it was last year. At some point when I was meditating, I just realized I was like, I don't know why I keep trying to like fit a square into a circle. Like I just kept like trying to do the same stuff. I'm like, this isn't
Mm-hmm.
working. Yeah, I was like going to before Bell, it's like I was working out 5, 6 days a week. I was meditating all the time. I was helping out with meditation stuff. Like there's just so much stuff I was doing, and that's just like it's just not realistic anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it is for some. Everyone's schedule is different, and whatever they have going on. But I didn't want to accept that. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, like I'm gonna keep doing the same, but it doesn't. I'm like I was crying and running myself into the ground. I'm like, this is not working. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wow, what if I just, you know, make it easier and just try to start small? It sounds so dumb, but it's true. Like you keep trying to force this stuff. And then I just realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't. Like this is a different, we have a different life now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't make any sense. And we've been noticing how much easier and happier we are, just like if it's just sticking to something small, and if we want to build onto it, we can build onto it. And that's pretty much how we go through everything.
That sounds amazing, honestly. I'm such a
Does it?
scatterbrain like myself. And yeah, I don't have the life that you have. So that's very impressive. But my simple life, and I still forget everything unless I write it down. And yeah, it's just that I wish I had that like well organized brain. I mean, I don't know if you always had that or if you kind of had to learn it, but something I envy in other people is that ability.
I mean, I have the planning and the organizing, but to an extreme, just like the other other health things. And yeah, everything seems to be a little bit on the extreme side. I think that the control is a little bit something I'm working on. But I just realized that it was burning me out. You know,
Hmm.
so the planning and the organizing and the structure is great, but only to an extent. And also, if you have things mapped out, like you can visually see it and you can rearrange it. I know it doesn't
Yeah.
seem so like overwhelming. I don't know.
Mm, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like journaling too, like getting it out of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I don't feel so bad because I try to, if I'm striving for 4 days and I'm only getting 3 days or something like that, I don't know. I don't feel so bad because I'm like, oh, you know what? I got 3 days in this week for working out, and I'm really happy with what I was able to accomplish. So I think that my mindset has definitely changed a lot with that for sure.
Yeah, I think we tend to sometimes hyper focus on the things we didn't do and forget to look at what we actually accomplished.
Mhm.
So how does meditation help you like at being a mom, like hands-on being a mom?
I'd say first and foremost, probably like just confidence in a lot of our family choices. I think there's a lot of things out there that you don't, I guess I didn't realize. And, and as we're going through and making decisions, I guess for raising our child, um, I don't feel, I don't know, inadequate or like I can't make up my mind on things. I'm just like, Devin and we just have a conversation and we're able to just like choose something and stick with it. And I think that it's really hard to do that because there's a lot of different like, oh, you do it this way, or I don't know, raise your kid this way. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of hearsay, back and forth and judgment from, everyone. So, or at least it feels that way. But I think that it has, helped me as a mom because I'm able to like when now I can just be confident in what, we're doing as a family, and I'm really happy in that. And then also probably number one is going back to like, the control. There's a lot of different stages, going from pregnancy and newborn, and now she's a toddler. There's just so many different things coming up, and every month or every couple months, there's a lot of stuff. And I've never been really great with chaos or lack of structure and those kinds of things. I'm a very organized person. I tend to, I guess, stick to the structure and the planning, but I learned a lot of patience with the meditation and mothering. Like not everything has to be, I mean, like I still plan and I still have the structure and the agenda, of course, but when things go off the rails, which they almost always do, I don't find myself to be as rigid anymore. So I'm like, oh, I'm able to just kind of be able to pivot a little bit more. I mean, there's still times where I'm like, okay, we need to like get back on track, but I don't know. I just feel like now having especially a toddler, I mean, a lot of things are ran by the toddler, to be quite honest. And I'm able to just kind of, I think, follow her lead sometimes now. I started realizing that at a very young age with her, that I'm like, you know what? Like, there's more than that I can learn from her than anyone. They're so pure mind and pure heart. And I found myself being like, if I was getting overwhelmed or trying to, get all these things done or whatever, my little schedules and stuff that I make. But if she was having a hard time or something, and I just found that anytime that she needed more attention, I actually needed a break. I don't know. So like I've meditation has helped me realize that like I really need to learn a lot from her, quite honestly. Let her take the lead on some stuff and not force so many things, I guess. Patience, being a little bit more laid back probably isn't the right word. I don't know if anyone would label me as a laid back person, but just not taking things as serious so much, I guess, because I can get really wrapped up in the agenda of stuff. And the meditation, I guess, has helped me just realize that I have a lot to learn from my tiny little human here. Yeah.
Sounds like you're able to adapt a lot easier, right?
Better than I was, I would say. Yeah.
You're able to embrace change.
Yes.
No
Yeah.
less.
Oh yeah, that was one of the other
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah,
All
that
back.
is it. Yeah. Yeah, because before I would try so hard to just like, I'm like, well, this isn't going this way, so like we need to make it go this way. But it would just make things worse. you know, the situation's worse or would like escalate or, you know, just, you know, especially like when you have babies, it's like they can't communicate or anything like that. So trying to figure out all the what they need and or even now she can speak and she is able to communicate a lot, but still it's very different. You know, there's not really like much rationalizing per se. So, but I don't know. I just her and I work much better as a team now, I guess, with the meditation, having
Mm.
that there for us. Yeah. And I'm like, well, if she doesn't want to go, like, who really cares? Yeah, I don't know. You know, there's just like, I've learned to really, I guess, like let a lot more go because it doesn't really matter. I don't know.
Sounds like you're able to see kind of what's important and what's not in a way.
Yeah. I mean, for our situation, I guess. I don't know. Everyone's family is different, so maybe they'd be listening to this saying, no. But yeah, for us anyways, that's what works.
Yeah, I'm not a parent, but I teach in a middle school, and every day I'm like finding myself having to face that like give up control mind because like there's so many things that sometimes I just look over and I'm like, why are you doing that? And I want to step in and like interfere, and sometimes like if I have to I will, but other times I'm just like, they're like 10 years old and just let it go. Like they're just going to do what they're going to do. And like I can try and
Yeah.
fight them on it, but they're 10 years old. What do what do I expect? Like, you know what I mean? So as long as they're not hurting each
Yeah.
other, sometimes I have to just like let it go. It's okay. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in their own little mind. So, you know, it's just not worth the fight. Like now, she wants to do everything herself. There's a lot of stuff she can't do by herself because she's
Mm.
two. But I let her try, depending, you know, as long as it's
Mm.
safe. But I mean, it might take that much longer, and we might not actually be getting anywhere out of the house or whatever. But it's like I said, it's like, is that I'm able to weigh on that? Like, does it really matter, kind of thing? You know, I'll sit here and I'll let her try to put on her pants or do whatever she's trying to do by herself because she refuses my help. And when she's ready, then I'm still sitting here. You know, things just, it's a very slow pace and we don't
Mm.
get very far most of the time. But I don't know, I've just learned and have grown through that in the meditation. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
So how has being a mother helped your meditation?
I mean, without being a mom, there wouldn't have been any of and a lot of the stuff I talked through tonight that just wouldn't have been there. Like I wouldn't, or maybe it would have just taken that much longer for me to get the picture, I guess, that, you know, I have a lot of that mind like still remaining. But yeah, literally physically, like becoming a mom uncovered a lot of deep roots that I had.
Mm.
And still working through that. Um, Especially like things from childhood. Yeah, you're starting to think about how you want to raise a kid and how you were raised. So I think that being a mom really changed my meditation because I was just put in different situations where I was able to see things that I didn't recognize were, I guess, heavy hitters, I guess, on my mindset or things I really needed to work through.
Mm.
And just watching Belle now, I mean, she's such a tiny little person and she really is like me. Like I look at, you know, things that she like says and she does. I'm like, oh my God, that's me. She's just a little reflection, like a mirror of myself. So yeah, being a mom now, it with, helps me with the meditation because I watch her and I see her and she copies me, you know? So funny thing is if you watch your kid and if they're like really poking at you, it's like that's you, you know? I'm like, oh my God, that annoys me because that's me. Yeah. or it's Devin. I'm just kidding. You know? No, but yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that it is able to bring up to the surface. Yeah, work through those deep, dark tunnels of the mind.
Okay, so do you have any advice for other like parents or soon to be parents or anything?
Um, I mean, I haven't been momming it for too long, but I guess 2 years under my belt. Uh, try to be open-minded probably would be my first. That I think we can put ourselves in a box. I definitely had a lot of like it's easy before being a parent, before I was a mom, to be like, you have all these preconceptions and like, hey, I want to do it this way, or like um, as the only example I can think of. But even like if you're somebody who is like breastfeeding versus like formula, that kind of thing, like a lot of moms, like if you go in, I guess, to the situation where really want to do one over the other, but then that's not like what your baby's taking to. It's very hard. Like if you already have your mind made up before you even get to that situation, I think it's much more difficult to accept what's actually going on, and do what's best for you, what's best for your child, what's best for the family. So I think like that's something I think that it's much. I say I wish I would have thought about that more going into it, but I don't think I wanted to hear that, quite honestly. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it this way, or I want to have it this way. Because even I wanted to have a natural birth too, and I ended up having a C-section because Belle was breech. So like that was all planned. Like that was all planned out. Like I had to have everything scheduled ahead of time. So that ended up being like really upsetting to me. Like I was like angry. I'm like, no, this isn't what I wanted. So I think that if you can go into any situation going into being a new parent and try to be a little bit more open-minded, I think that it makes any situation a lot more easier for you to see what really needs to be done. And it just is easier on your mind. It's easy. It's less stress, and you can just adapt and take care of business, So, and also obviously I recommend meditation, but if you're not interested in meditation, I think that any form of self-reflection is extremely valuable. Like you're writing it down, or if you just give yourself that time to reflect on yourself, and or even if it's with your partner, having that discussion or trying to help each other improve. I think that's also good self-reflection too, to get feedback from your partner, whether it's something you want to hear or you don't want to hear. You can kind of think about that later on, but ultimately it ends up, giving you the opportunity to show up as the best version of yourself. So I think that's most important for you and for everyone around you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
You.
I think that's all the questions I have for you.
Okay. Well, hopefully it was relatable to somebody out there.
Yeah. I mean, even as someone like not going through parenting, I found this very helpful. So I think, like really any situation, yeah, not just parenting, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of people can relate and gain something. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show, and I enjoy listening to all the episodes thus far. So might be weird listening to myself, but
definitely is weird listening to yourself. I always joke around like it's the one benefit of being the editor of this podcast is that I can cut myself out as much as I want. When I'm like, I hate how I sound here, chop.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, thank you both so much. It's also good hearing myself. I think talking about it out loud gives me a lot of gratitude. You know, there was a lot of things to work through and overcome, but I'm very thankful for that.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Cham Chats. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and follow us on social media. All of the links are in the description. And if you're interested in trying this meditation method yourself, you can visit onlinemeditationevents.com for online classes or to be connected to a center near you. See you next time.